Oklahoma City University's police department now is in the process of correcting what appears to be a federal law violation. The law is called the Clery Act. It was created to help protect students by requiring universities to report information about crimes on and around their campuses. One of the requirements is to report each crime within 48 hours. The law was named after Jean Clery, who was raped and murdered in her dorm room in Pennsylvania in 1986.
Since OCU receives federal funding, they should be compliant with the Clery Act, but that was not at all the case when we started asking for information about campus crimes 2 weeks ago.
2 News on the Twos reporters went to OCU's police department on April 11th to see the most recent crime log. We knew OCU PD was keeping the records because they send most crime reports to student media. However, we were told that the police department did not have them on hand because they were training someone new. Instead, we were referred to OCU's website. When we went to the site, we found that the logs were last updated in January, meaning the OCU PD had not been compliant with the Clery Act for over 2 months.
They should be keeping some kind of log. That's a basic requirement, and this is not a new law, this is not a new requirement. And doesn't matter if they're training new people, somebody there has to be responsible for making sure that's done. That's just it's not an option.
When we realized OCU's crime logs weren't up to date, we started making calls to the police department, which were not returned. Instead, the university's attorney and Dr. Rick Hall, Vice President of Student Affairs, who was responsible for the police department, referred us to Public Relations, who said the school didn't do anything wrong.
Due to a software glitch, so when it became 2013, the software was set up to pull from 2012 and not 2013.
There really isn't any room for excuses on this stuff, partially because a lot of it isn't really complicated, that there isn't any requirement that you use technology, so a technical glitch shouldn't stop you from maintaining a log elsewhere.
The university released a statement on April 19th that said the OCU Police Department releases crime stats via email on a regular basis to a broad list of campus recipients, including Media OCU. Media OCU did post OCU crime logs and police reports to the university's website throughout February, March, and the 1st of April. But Goldstein says that is the responsibility of the university police department, not student media.
You can't avoid violating the Clery Act by showing all the things you did to publish crimes that aren't complying with the Clery Act. It's like, you can do lots of great things, but if you don't do these things, you're still in violation.
While we were trying to get in contact with university officials for this story, we noticed that the online police blotter was being updated. As of press time, February, March, and most of April are now available on the OCU PD website.
And while News on the Twos reporters were looking into crime statistics issues, we asked for copies of the last 7 years of crime logs from OCU. According to attorney Adam Goldstein from the Student Press Law Center, the U.S. Code of Federal Regulations requires the university to keep 7 years' worth of crime data, and Clery compliance means that data must be made available within 2 business days. In a written response from the university, News on the Twos was told OCU is actually not required to make those logs available, but that they would give them to us voluntarily within 30 days.
The person who wrote this letter has no idea what the college's Clery requirements actually are, and is not involved in complying with those requirements. Basically, this letter's like a confession. It's a confession along with an acknowledgement that they intend to break the law in the future by not complying within the 2 days.
The university statement says officials and police are committed to the ongoing safety and security of the students.
Strict compliance with the Clery Act is enforced by the Department of Education. If the DOE questions a university's compliant, it can trigger an audit. The auditing process can take up to 2 years, and each violation can result in a fine of as much as $35,000 or loss of federal funding. Though OCU claims it hasn't committed any violations, experts aren't so sure.
I think it's pretty serious. I mean, these are the fundamental obligations of the Clery Act. There are ways to violate the Clery Act that are more nuanced, that are innocent. This is not one of them.
For more information on the Clery Act, or if you would like to see any of the documents related to this News on the Twos investigation for yourself, you can log on to MediaOCU.com.